Hey guys, this is video number 3 in the song structure series, where here we're going to look at the use of change and repetition in a song to keep listeners engaged as your music advances forward. And you're going to find that this is a really important concept in the art of songwriting because it reinforces the cyclical nature of music. Now, so far in the series, we've looked at how song sections like a verse, a bridge, and a chorus are rearranged and repeated to build out a song, where these segments of melody and lyrics and chord progressions can be used like building blocks to compose a song from beginning to end. And just like the acts of a play, each section helps to guide the music as it moves, informing the very story that develops. Only there's a twist, because music, as it turns out, is also unusual in a special way, and very different from any other form of storytelling you might find in books, theater, or film. Because unlike the stories told on stage or in movies, songs don't progress in a neat, linear sequence from start to finish in a normal chronological order. Instead, music always and inevitably cycles through the same sections more than once, repeating the same scenes again and again. A lot like the film Groundhog Day with its impossible plot of characters caught in a time loop. For example, in the song Topsy-Turvy World that we looked at in this video, you can see how this happens. By repeating some sections over and over, Natalie Merchant, who wrote this song, structured her art in a way that Shakespeare or Spielberg never would, returning back to the same lyrics she'd sung before and playing through the same melodies and progressions to create a surreal sense of musical déjà vu. Right? So if this was a screenplay, the scenes would advance from beginning to end, with scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, and so on. Since time in everyday life is linear, a normal story would progress from one scene to the next without any repetition. I mean, if a character started to say the same words again, that would be sort of strange, and you might assume that they had lost their mind. But in music, these song sections are occasionally repeated. The words in each verse change as you move from one to the next, but the same melody and chord progression is repeated. And each chorus section is identical. So here, as you advance from left to right, from beginning to end, the same notes and even some of the same words are repeated again and again as you advance. So in this way, music isn't just an unusual art form, it's totally bizarre and captivating too. Not only in the way that it moves through time, but also in how it creates a feeling of time travel in the process. Because just when you think you're moving forward, the next thing you know, you're retracing your steps, advancing through the same familiar territory in a loop that defies the normal boundaries of the past, present, and future. And this looping structure of songs isn't just a convention, of course. That is, songwriters don't impose it upon their music as an artifice to make it seem more interesting. In reality, it's unavoidable because music itself is cyclical by nature, since the progressions that make up each section are cyclical themselves. And the note patterns that form these progressions are cyclical too, including the major scale, the chromatic scale, and the circle of fifths. So it only makes sense that all songs would be fundamentally circular as well, repeating and recycling the same essential patterns of music. Though, of course, all this repetition can also start to sound, well, repetitive after a while, which can get old and boring fast. So to keep things fresh and interesting, the best songwriters know how to switch things up throughout a piece by following a general guideline or idea, which is this. In music, the best way to keep your audience engaged is to simply tap into our human drive for both repetition and change. And the best way to do that is by simply alternating between different song sections to satisfy our craving for both states of being. So songwriters don't just use sections to extend a song or even to tell a musical story, but to tell a story that also speaks to our innate need for both change and repetition. To see what I mean, take another look at the song Topsy-Turvy World, and you'll notice how Natalie Merchant used different song sections to strike a balance between the familiar and the unexpected. In one way, the song is continually changing as it passes through each phase of the story, from the intro to the verse to the chorus and so on, always evolving to feed our need for novelty, while at the same time it also repeats itself again and again, reintroducing the old along with the new to satisfy our other desire for nostalgia. Most of the song is made up of verse and chorus sections where each verse sounds like this. Chorus. World will be upside down, yeah. World will be upside down. What a topsy-turvy world this would be. World would be upside down, yeah. World would be upside down. Verse.
upside down, yeah, world would be upside down. What a topsy-turvy world this would be. World would be upside down, yeah, world would be upside down. World would be upside down, yeah, world would be upside down.
And then it repeats, alternating between the verse and chorus sections. And in the process, this song, and all music really, manages to both soothe and excite us, as we experience the soothing known and the exciting unknown together, all in one seemingly self-contradictory experience, right? Though, of course, this compulsion for both progress and renewal is anything but unnatural, since we see it play out in the world around us every day. From the constant alternation between day and night, to the endless cycle of the seasons, to the eternal round of life, death, and rebirth in nature, this reality is so ingrained in us that it hardly seems like a paradox at all. Which may be why music is the most universal art form on Earth, because it mirrors this cyclical nature of existence, always revolving as it forges ahead and falls back, over and over and over again. In fact, you can even see this pattern at play in the chord progressions that make up each song section, as the harmonies cycle through states of stability, change, and tension. Just like the sections themselves, the chords advance in a kind of looping motion, driven by the momentum of the music, cycling through their own patterns and propelled by the same kind of gravity that moves even the planets in their vast orbits. And the thing that makes each one work, that is, that turns each of these patterns into a cycle specifically, is that they're all built around certain inflection points, meaning the points along a path where a given curve changes direction, resulting in a flow of energy that keeps moving in a circular motion. To explain, in the case of the heavens, these inflection points mark the changes in direction that occur along a planet's ellipse. Within a chord progression, these points correspond with the different harmonies that are played in sequence. And in the structure of a song, these inflection points are found within the sections themselves, as the music moves through each one, alternating between states of change and repetition. And this contrast between change and repetition is what makes music so interesting, because the juxtaposition of these two states has a basic primal appeal that captures our attention. In fact, you could even say this duality is irresistible because it is inevitable. And that, in turn, is because change and repetition are inextricably linked in music, like both halves of the yin-yang symbol, where each state helps to define the other. In other words, one without the other is impossible, right? Just as light and dark need each other to have meaning, or in the way fire and water give each other context, or how males and females interrelate, change and repetition in a song are complementary forces that are totally interdependent, bound together as parts of a mutual whole. Anyway, I know this is getting a little heady and philosophical, but so is the art of songwriting. And in the next video, we're going to look at how we can use the forces of change and repetition to create some great music. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.